Probably this one. This one. Oh, maybe this one?
3 plus 5. I'm sure you know that's
Okay.
good. But if I run this, it also prints out a little 8.
Oh, okay, that's really helpful.
Yeah, so you can do some little maths. The other really cool thing is that, as I said earlier, you can name numbers. So I can say, for example, A is equal to 5.
Oh, it's like algebra.
And I can print A is 8. If I do that, it prints me 13 because A is 5. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. Yeah, I'm really excited to learn about coding. It's the first time I've ever actually kind of come into contact with coding before, so I think it'll be really interesting to learn something new today.
Yeah, so I think the great thing about coding is that, of course, you can do things that are like super polished, like making an app that goes on the App Store and makes you tons of money. But on the other hand, it's something that I think anyone can do to make something that's really useful for your daily life. And I think something, and there's going to be a couple of, meetings where I slowly teach you how to code, and as a North Star of where we can go, I made you like a little web app of something that will hopefully be useful to you.
Yeah.
And
I'd love to see it.
So I know that one of the really important things in YouTube are thumbnails.
Yeah.
And that's really tough to get a good feel for what's good and what's bad, right? So I made a little app where you can test your YouTube intuition. It might be good to just zoom in a little bit. So here, I know you're friends with Chili Bee ASMR. So you've got her channel up here, and you can see like these different thumbnails, and you can say like, hey, I think this one is probably got more views, or this one got more views, and you can test your YouTube intuition. So
I just guess which one.
Yeah, and you can just click on it.
Oh, that's really difficult. So hand molding or glasses.
They both look like really relaxing
they
videos.
Do. I think I've seen them both as well. I really liked this one, but I don't know if everyone likes the same as me. Should I just click it?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh!
You got it right.
Okay.
So, and the idea is that as you go through and you do more and more of these, you can click next and go to the next one. You start learning about what's good for YouTube, and hopefully it's something that's useful for you. And it's something that took me probably about half a day to code up.
Okay.
And which is why it looks very plain and everything. But
no, it looks great. I can imagine it as like an app on my phone, and it would be so helpful before like uploading a video to check like out of my own like which ones actually do well. Because thumbnails are quite hard to get right.
Yeah, so if you're making a video, you want as many people as possible to see it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the sort of idea, and that's where we're going to go. Hopefully that's giving a taste of why coding can be useful, like that in half a day you can go from a blank slate to having an app like this that's running, and you can access it from your computer. It's running on my computer back at home. So hopefully that's useful.
Can you do it with like any channel?
Yeah, so what channel would you like?
Can I do some of YouTube?
So actually, that's useful. So you can just take the URL, and copy it, paste it in, then Yeah, you can get around. Oh, I actually know the answer to this because I know the physics lesson wasn't so
It's quite old though, it's a bit unfair. But actually no, the upload date I guess was quite similar.
I know that the eye exam did better. No, I'm not offended, it's all cool.
It was a great physics lesson.
Yeah. Do you remember the relation between the distance from a light source and its perceived brightness? Maybe we need another physics lesson. But yeah, so this is what you can do if you know a little bit about how to code. Like, of course, I don't do coding. You know, it wasn't what I was trained in. I did physics. It's something that you can learn to do. I guess with your phone, you might remember some of these things.
Yeah. Probably this one. This one. Oh, maybe this one? Yeah, I've yet to get one wrong when it's my own, I guess.
You got one wrong.
Did I?
Yeah, it says 8 out of 9.
What did I get wrong?
You got the one wrong where it was the facial versus face reading. Did you? It was like you have the screen recording.
Oh. That's really tough. Potentially, I think Natasha wins. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. I guess I'll go to 12.
No, you've got 10. No, you've got 10 right out of 12. The 12.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Yes, you could just go on forever.
Yes.
I guess you would start to learn over time, like intuitively, what is the best kind of.
That's what I assume will happen.
Yeah.
I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't know.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a wonderful idea. That it's amazing you can create something like this.
Yeah, and in terms of code, it's not that long. So I've given you access to this, and at some point, maybe you can show it to other people as well. But you can see, there's all the there's the server bit that gives you. It's not that long in terms of code, right? And then the client, which is like what you see in terms of what's displayed on your web page, is here. But before saying that, I'm sure there are things I just said that don't really make sense to you. So let me just explain what I mean by how the app is architected overall. So, thank you. So, I just want to draw a little diagram of what components there are. So, there's the web page that's served to your computer. So, there's some web page, and that's like run on your computer over here, or on a phone, or whatever. And that uses these languages called like HTML to specify like what it looks like, and JavaScript to make sure it's like interactive. That talks to a server. In this case, I'm just running it on my computer at home, and that does a lot of the thinking. So, for example, this asks the server, "Hey, what's the number of views for this video?" Or "What's the what are the thumbnails for these videos?" Or what are the next 2 videos that I'm going to show? And then this server then also communicates with some YouTube's servers. And this bit of code I've written in Python. I guess I could have written it in JavaScript to help you not have to learn so many languages, but I like Python. So we're going to go through today, and we're probably going to start with the server stuff. I don't think we'll get very a day, but we can learn some Python today. It's a very useful language that's used a lot in scientific applications, so that's why I'm very comfortable with it. But it's also used often for things like servers using these packages called Flask. But we'll get there in a second. I know you don't know any programming, so this is probably all alien to you, but I just thought it would be nice to have this overall architecture of what's happening on your computer, what's happening on my computer, and how do they communicate. So, do you have any questions?
I can't think of any right now. I think,
Okay.
yeah, I'm excited to learn.
So, yeah, I don't know how familiar. What is your impression of coding like? What does it entail? What is it?
I mean, I just think of people like hacking in like movies and things.
No, I think it's a lot simpler than that. It's like I've heard of people like describe it as like writing a blueprint for a Martian. Right. If you describe to a Martian, think about like how would you describe brewing a pot of tea?
Putting a tea bag in a cup and then pouring water into it.
Okay. I just took water from the tap and I'm pouring it into a cup.
Put it in a kettle and then boil it.
Mm-hmm.
And then put the tea bag in the cup.
Mm-hmm.
Add the boiled water to the teacup.
There was a day between when I boiled the kettle and when I poured it in the cup. Is that still okay?
No. Do this all at once.
All at once?
No. One after the other.
Okay, so there's these like all these like obtuse things that I could say that are very annoying to you. Right?
Yeah.
And those are the sort of questions that you can sort of imagine a Martian would ask as well. Because a Martian doesn't understand all the conventions that we have, and it doesn't understand what tea is, so it doesn't understand like, oh, what are the like basic things we can do to get a tea, get some tea, and like I could have also said like, oh, what's a tea bag, right? So there's so many things, and it's like that because a computer doesn't have all the preconceptions that we do, so we have to be very precise in specifying what you want it to do, and then it will do exactly what you want it to do. Often when the piece of code you write doesn't work as you expect, your first instinct is to blame the computer, and then you discover why it wasn't working, and it's quite clear that it was you who was wrong. Let's learn some Python, because I think it's a very good beginner language to do this stuff. It's a good beginner language for coding. Yeah. So, but do you know that there are loads of different coding languages? I didn't know if this was something.
Yeah, when you said languages earlier, I was really confused. Like, do you mean like German or like Japanese or Spanish?
Right. So a computer understands zeros and ones. All of the signals within the computer are encoded as just a series of zeros and ones.
Okay.
It's a little bit hard for humans to think like that and write in zeros and ones, so we have things that are a little bit more similar to how we speak. And these are programming languages, so they specify the commands like how do you make a cup of tea in a language that's sort of like English, although not quite.
Okay.
And for different things, it's easier to describe it in different ways. Because these languages encode some preconceptions, right? So for example, if you're displaying a web page, you want to have a lot of things about, well, what's the styling of the web page, or you want to make it convenient to fetch stuff from some different computer somewhere else. Whereas if you're writing stuff locally, there are different constraints that you want to make it simpler to reason about. If you're writing some code that's very fast, you might want to write stuff that's closer to the zeros and ones, whereas if you don't care about performance, you might want to write stuff that's much more highly abstracted and makes a set of assumptions, which makes it easier for you to write. Like Python is a language like that, but it's slower when it runs. So because of that, there are so many different languages, and Python, HTML, and JavaScript are just a few. I mean, calling HTML a programming language might be, I don't know, but we will call it that for now. So, to do this, the first thing you have to do is to install Python.
Okay.
Which is going to be a little bit tedious. You might not, I don't know if you want to cut it out. It might be useful for people. I'm sure there are better ways to do this. I'm just going to try and replicate the environment on my computer. So I'm going to get on the Python, which comes with a load of different things that you don't necessarily need, but I want to make sure that any debugging is as painless as possible. So I'm going to replicate the installation on my computer. It's going to take a while to download. So while this is downloading, I might as well also install a code editor. So you know how you have like Microsoft Word to edit Word documents. I just wanted to download. Is it downloading? So you have Microsoft Word to download Word documents, to edit, sorry. You have like Excel to edit Excel documents. There are also code editors to edit code. And they do nice things like making your text multicolored automatically, so it's easier to understand for our little monkey brains. So I'm just going to install one of those for you as well. I have many opinions, but about which ones are nice. But I think VS Code is the nicest one for people who are getting started, so we'll go with that. Okay, so now that we've downloaded it, do you want to do the honors?
Yeah, do I just double click it?
Yeah, Anaconda. Okay, this package will, yeah. Just
allow?
Yeah. I guess allow again. Continue.
Just exit these.
Yeah.
Install.
Yeah. That's installing Python for you. While that runs, let me just, because we installed a code editor as well, let me just move that over into your applications folder. So now you have Visual Studio Code right there. No, leave it open. It's about to open that. Let me just configure the editor as well. I love how the first thing they say is, what theme do you want
Light.
to create? Light. Next section. Oh, wait. I didn't mean to just finish the tutorial. Get started. Okay, can I go through? Do you want to do this or?
You're gonna help me anyway. I don't really mind.
Okay. Okay.
I don't really understand it anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. So, I think. Oh, that was your Anaconda install. I'm also just gonna make a folder in Documents for your
Coding.
And I'll open that from Visual Studio Code. There you go. Okay, so I think the way we'll do this is that I'll write something and then you can try and apply the same things I've applied in the same file.
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing that everyone does when they start coding, and it's called a hello world. So it's just, you're going to write a program that there's this thing called a terminal, and back in the bad old days, computers could only output text, and at the start that just came out in a printer, but then it came out on like a display, but it was all just text, and there is like, you can still have that within like an application, or within like your editor, in the modern day. So, and it's a lot easier to write code that just outputs text than to do things like the ASMR beauty video, right? So we're going to start off by learning how do we just print stuff out to the terminal. So how do we just display some text? And the thing that everyone writes is hello world. So we're going to call it hello world pi. And .py is the extension
Python.
for Python, yeah. Visual Studio Code, the reason why I went for it is that it's very helpful, and it's like, oh, do you want to install the recommended extensions for Python? And they will do everything for you. So there's a lot of like extensions, so like plugins to make your life easier when you're coding. For example, Python, it will just suggest like bits of code for you. It will tell you like, oh, this is what this function does. It basically means...
Like autocorrect.
It's like autocorrect, yeah. It means that I don't even need to Google stuff to be able to be a coder. And it just does it for me. So, Python makes this very easy. So all you need to do in Python is to write print hello world. And when you run this, then you can see, so it can display the terminal down here, and within the terminal it just says hello world. Let me just zoom in on this screen a little bit for the people watching from home, and you can see that, ignore all the comments before and after, it says hello world, which is exactly what I wrote down there.
Okay.
So you can change it to say like hello beauties or whatever, and they will just write that exact same stuff down there. You can give it a go.
What's a terminal?
Okay, so a terminal is, so you know what I was saying, in the bad old days the computers would only do text.
Yeah.
A terminal is like, this bit is pretending it's still the bad old days for computers.
Okay.
So it only does text.
Right.
And the reason why it's called print is that like, the terminal used to just be like a printer, right? So print is saying like, hey, print this text into the terminal, which is to say like display the text here.
Okay.
So if I say print hello world, then I'll show it there.
Yeah.
If I then also say print hello ASMR beauty, and then I run that, then that will also show there.
Oh, and it shows both?
Because I wrote
it's 1 and 2. Okay.
Yeah. So you can write anything that you want. Well, it won't work, but you can try it by, I mean, as in, it's not because of the heart that it won't work.
Oh, I didn't do these. Oh, wait, did hit this?
Yes, the quotation marks around it. And then you bracket after. So the bracket tells the computer this is like a block of the block of stuff that's associated with print, and the quotation marks say this is like some text. Otherwise, I'm going to show you in a little bit, but you can name variables. So for example, you can, like in the same way that you name things in the real world, well, I can name this pen A, right? You can name anything, like you can name number in Python, and when you do those things, you don't put the quotation. It'll make a little bit more sense in a second. There's one more difference between what you wrote and what I wrote, which means that your code won't work. Wait, what is it?
There's a space after my print.
Exactly. So little things like that seem very that don't seem to matter for humans really do matter for a computer. So it's going back to the idea of like making tea, instructing how to make tea for a Martian. It gets all confused if there's a space after print and before the bracket.
Okay.
All this preciseness might seem very tedious, but it means that it's a little more predictable because it's not trying to be intelligent and do stuff that you don't tell it to do, right? So you can know that if you write the code right, it will always behave in the exact same way.
Okay.
So that's why it's important to be precise and to look at it and try and copy those things exactly. So you need the quotation marks, and you need to make sure there's no space. So if we run it again, it says hello world, hello ASMR Beauty. Now let's say hello world.
So cute.
Okay, so the next part is...
Why is it called air coding?
That's Melissa's air, for Melissa's
MacBook Air.
and then it's the folder's coding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basic questions over here.
It's okay. So there's like all this stuff around it that is... I would otherwise type inside of like a different terminal window, but because I can just click run, this file, Visual Studio Code just does the right things and prints it and types it in for me, but it looks very confusing to someone who hasn't seen it before, right? So, the next thing is computers are basically, they originated as calculators, right? Calculators that you can program. So I think some of the earliest computers were used for things like they were used for like military uses, and they were, for example, used to calculate ballistics. So how the equations of how, if I fire a gun, where will it land? This isn't the only thing that the first computers were used for, but that involves a lot of maths. I just want to cover my bases because I know someone in the comments will say that I'm wrong. But you can imagine that involves a lot of maths, and that's what computers were designed for. And I know you don't like maths, but we can work around that. So I can say, for example, print 3 plus 5. I'm sure you know that's good. But if I run this, then it also prints out a little 8.
Oh, okay, that's really helpful.
Yeah, so you can do some little maths. The other really cool thing is that, as I said earlier, you can name numbers. So I can say, for example, A is equal to 5.
Oh, it's like algebra.
And I can print A plus 8. If I do that, it prints me 13 because A is 5.
That's really neat.
And so what's great about this is that when you do lots of steps in your code, you can understand what's going on at each stage instead of having to write like one really, really long equation. Right?
Yeah.
Now the thing, so this is very similar to what you can do in the calculator.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know when people say they have like lines lines of code?
Yeah.
Is this what they mean, like lines of code going down? Because it just keeps going down.
Yeah. What did you think it was?
No, I just never knew it. But I just assumed it was like pages of code, like lines on a Word document. Like,
these are lines.
Yeah, but like I didn't. It's nice to know what they're specifically referring to, like these little numbers going down.
I mean, these numbers aren't in the file. These numbers are just displayed by your code editor.
So are the numbers like instructions in the instruction list?
No. Well, I mean, the numbers are just there for visual convenience. They're there for us more than anything else.
Oh, okay.
In some older
I
languages,
thought it's like steps.
You can think of it as steps. I mean, it is essentially steps, right? It goes step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and it does it in order.
Yeah.
Like with the teeth.
Yeah.
So if it helps you think about it that way.
It's really cool. It's like cooking. Like a recipe.
Yeah.
Sorry, Yara. What were you saying?
Oh no. So there are some more things that you can do with this. You can also ask the user for some input. So I can say A is equal to input. Please. So if I do this, and then I can print A. So it says, please input something right at the bottom of the screen. I can say, hello world again. Yeah. Prints back hello world to me. So I can take these things and I can do interesting things with them. For example, so another thing you can do with programming that you can't actually do with a calculator is you can do some logic. So you can be a little bit more smart. What I mean by that is to say like, oh, if A is equal to, so I can say for example, if A is equal to ASMR beauty, then print welcome back. And otherwise, so else print go away. So let me try running that again. So it says please input something, and if I put in ASMR beauty, then it says welcome back. But if I do the same thing again, but I put in hello world, it says go away. So the you can do a lot of these branching to do some interesting things, right?
Yeah.
For example, if you wanted to calculate tips on something, then let's make a new file, because with everything you've learned just up to here, you can write a little thing to calculate tips. So you can write a little tip calculator. Of course, it's not that much different from what you could do on your phone, but it just shows the sort of stuff that you can already do with the little. So, for example, we can say the dinner bill was equal to £45 with what inflation is like these days. And then you can say server was helpful is equal to, so we ask the user for input saying, was the server helpful, right? And then if server was helpful is equal to yes. Now something that's interesting here probably is that I wrote two equals there, right, when I'm comparing. So if I'm assigning something, I use one equals, and if I'm comparing something, I use two equals. Why did it do this? I don't know. Is equal to yes, then I can say print bill with 20% tip is dinner bill times 1.2, right, to do a 20% tip. Otherwise, I can print bill with 10% tip is I think these are reasonable tips to give, right? At least in the UK. I don't know how it is in the States. If you run, then it says, was the server helpful? If I say yes, then the bill is 20%.
Wow.
So, right, the computer's being a little bit intelligent. It's asking you what happened, and then based on what the result was, it tells you what to do. So you can do some very interesting things with just if statements. In fact, with this and a little bit of, I think it's basically just if statements. You know, like we're comparing things. There was a movement, I think, in the 70s to build these AI systems called expert systems. I think that's what they were called. I'm going to look this up and you can cut this out if I'm wrong. But there were these things called expert systems which were supposed to help in hospitals or I think in like accounting, things that required a lot of knowledge, but can be simplified down to basically a lot of like questions of like, is the patient's temperature greater than 37.7 degrees? If so, then they have a fever. If they have a fever, is their throat swollen? And the computer would have a bunch of these if statements, and then at every if statement it would ask a doctor or a nurse to say, okay, look at the patient, measure their temperature, and it's supposed to help them a lot. It turns out there's a little bit more to what we do than just a bunch of if statements, but it's just this is already, you can see that it can be very, very smart, right? And for example, with the, going back to the app, okay, move this out of the way. For example, with the app I made you, where you were testing your YouTube intuition, there is an if statement where if I copy and paste a URL and it says if it has youtube.com in it, then it will try and find the channel ID by asking YouTube, and then it will change it into just the channel ID. Whereas if it looks like I'm just pasting in the channel ID, which is like a unique just identifier for every channel on YouTube, and it goes like, oh, okay, I don't need to change anything about it, and it keeps it that way.
Okay.
So you already know one of the parts that constitutes the app.
Yeah.
Do you want to try writing something? Let's see if... Can you write? Let's see if you can write a tip calculator yourself.
I'm not sure I can. Like, I can watch and kind of understand it, but I don't know.
You learn best by doing. I did tell you a lot of stuff, so you can start working on it, and then I will tell you if you go wrong.
I don't even remember how you started.
I started
by dinner equals like £40, and then was the waiter nice?
Yeah. How did we get that information? Oh, so you can't put spaces in names, by the way. Just so you know. You can't put spaces in names, so if it was the waiter nice, can't have spaces in it.
Oh,
That's why I put underscores in it instead of spaces. Waiters with an E. Okay, so let's show let's show them side by side, right? Because what it seems like is that you understood the logic, right? If I asked you to draw
I remembered the else part as well,
Yeah.
that helps.
If I asked you to draw a flowchart, actually, let me hide that again. What might be really useful is to try and draw a flowchart before you run into coding, because when you start coding, there's a lot of like learning the language that you have to do, and that's quite hard. Right now you're forgetting like how does Python work, right?
Yeah.
So let's try and write down the logic of how our little program works, right? Because this seems to help. This helped me a lot when I was getting started, and hopefully it'll help you.
I just write down.
Yeah, write a flowchart. A step by step. How would you do this?
The same as the code, or
Yeah.
so then it was dinner.
Yeah.
And then the price. And then there's like the first question.
Yeah.
Which is bullet point.
It's fine. This is written for you, it's written for you.
And then you have like the yes and no bits.
Yeah, so you can just put arrows. Yeah.
Like if yes, and you do like a 20% hit.
So then what's the total bill?
So
or rather, dinner times 4.2. Because you have to find anything that, yeah.
then now. Point one.
Right, so it's just a matter of taking that flowchart now and translating it into code.
Yeah.
What might help you in doing that is to look at all the code that we wrote earlier. In Hello World, right? So you can look at how what Python looks like and how we got text. So, do you think you can do a little bit better this time if you look at that? So, for example, I used a equals input. Please input something to get the user to write something, right?
This?
So print is to get the computer to write something to the here, but we want the user to write something, right?
I want input.
Yes. Does it have a capital letter when I wrote it?
No. Input equals was the. I'm gonna change it to server. Server, nice.
Is that how I wrote it?
There's no space.
Is that the difference? So I
Is
wrote
this-
a equals input. Please input something.
Oh. I do a equals input.
Yep.
And then
Okay. Yep.
if yes.
Does that look like how I did the if statement earlier?
If a equals
Yep.
yes, print
There is a colon there. Yeah. No, you want the indent. So in Python, it does the indentation is quite important in that it understands that this block of code is associated with the if because there's an indentation. So you need the indentation.
print dinner times
Sorry, times is with is with this.
Oh,
Sorry,
dinner.
that's
times 1.2, and I forgot my speech marks.
Do you need a speech mark here?
I have absolutely no idea. No, because they're numbers.
Oh, and you
Values.
don't need to do underscores there anymore. You can do spaces
Why?
because it's inside text. So you can't put it in name. So you can't make the name A have spaces, but you can put spaces inside of there. The other thing is you write dinner with a little letter there, and you write dinner with a big letter.
So that's if yes, and
Mhm.
then else, but I need to go back.
Exactly.
else? Print. Go away. Print. No speech marks. Dinner. Times is a star.
Nope.
Times 1.1 for 10%.
Do you want that space after the print?
No.
That should work then. You can do run.
Run without debugging?
Yeah. Was the server nice?
No.
Then it does a 10% tip. And you go down to the bottom again.
Oh.
It's 44.
Oh wow. I did it.
You did it. Right?
That's cool.
And there's much more great things to come.
Yeah, I can't imagine at this point in time ever being able to do the YouTube kind of thing, but it's nice to like understand a part of it. And yeah, hopefully we can make another video together.
Yep, we'll get there little by little.
Baby steps. Yeah, thank you for coming, and thank you for teaching me coding today.
Thank you for having me, and yeah, I think we'll need like 10 more videos.